As you prepare for your day, whether you own the place or not, you have to earn a living. We all have to do that. We got to put food on the table. And oftentimes you fall into what it is. Maybe you go to college, maybe, and you graduate, you get a degree, and you start your life. If you're like my wife, maybe you take a side road and you don't end up necessarily doing exactly what it is your degree is. But no matter what, you have to earn a living. Do you like what you do? It has to be at least. It's not like going to, well, unless you work at Disneyland, it doesn't have to be like at Disneyland, but you have to at least have some sense of accomplishment, achievement, to enjoy what you do, I would think. But what is it you need? Probably freedom to do what you do and do it well. Let's find out the psychology behind all of this. Maybe you call this, Doc, maybe the psychology behind a good workforce. Dr. John Braccio from Regional Psychological Services. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mike. And I think, all workers, we all need freedom to excel, okay? I believe it's safe to say that most workers, they want to be successful and have an enjoyable job. The fact there's so much dissatisfaction in the workplace is really often because workers are not allowed to have the freedom to do their best and excel. I also believe it's safe to say that most people want their job to be meaningful and be able to work in an environment that is not loaded with drama and friction. The amazing thing is how many managers or employers get it wrong. They do it, Mike. They don't get that most of the employees who they'd love to be doing a better job and excelling. Okay, they often just want to overmanage. It's reasonable to say that people who are satisfied in their jobs do not only really have things to do that they enjoy, but they do it in an environment where they're offered the freedom to explore better ways of doing things and the opportunity to excel. In my experiences with persons who employ or manage people, that they too often feel they're not doing their job unless they're micromanaging everything people do who they supervise. My belief has always been that if you manage events, you're going to manage people. And if you are always trying to manage every little activity that people are doing, they're going to resent this. And job dissatisfaction is going to lead to poor performance and a lot of turnover. The following are really things that are necessary for an employee to have job satisfaction, in addition to their having some interest and desire to do the work they're doing. Rules and requirements that are logical and consistent. You don't want to have all these rules that really have nothing to do with doing the job. You want to have the physical space, resources, and management support that are necessary to do the jobs. Freedom of action within their roles without always looking over their shoulders to see who is looking and evaluating them. An environment that does not have unnecessary hurdles to make it impossible to be creative and excel, developing possible new approaches to the job that really could lead, Mike, to greater work productivity and enhancement for the person's self-image. And then eliminating micromanaging and letting the person do the job they're hired to do in an open environment. And then managers that are supportive and not seen as negative disciplinarians. Then an environment that does not allow backbiting or the development of negative cliques that can put the morale and productivity of many of the persons in the system really can cause problems. Then you need positive communication among employees and management that allows for employees and managers being open and able to discuss things with each other. You want an open door policy between employees and in management where persons have access for discussion, concerns, and suggestions on how things could work more effectively. Now, in hearing, what we're talking about here, this seems reasonable, logical, but it's amazing how many places aren't that way, Mike. I mean, they just places set up barriers that end up leading to poor productivity, lack of support, lack of enjoying the jobs, and people just being dissatisfied, unhappy, and either just keep doing a job where they're not satisfied, or there's a lot of turnover, and eventually companies like this, unless they're the government job, they often end up just failing, and that's this is not a good recipe for keeping people. You really want to have open environments where productivity can occur, where there's people working together, just where people can be comfortable and really grow and excel.
I can only just say from a personal standpoint, I'm fortunate that I work in an industry where it generally is, it's pretty good. Everybody works as a team. You get each other's strengths. You understand how that works. And it's generally a smaller crew. But I know my son has talked about it. And, people generally, not generally, but you can work in a place where, well, I'll use his words. You can become like cattle. And that is,
right. That's right.
This is your job. You do that job. You clock in. You do it. You leave. And I guess there's the argument to be said. Well, what more do you want? It's not. I mean, it's your job. You're doing it to put food on the table. But you gotta be happy.
You do, Mike. It's pretty critical. You just being a machine, which you're not, and just being treated like a machine, that's not a good thing. People need creativity. They need freedom. They need the freedom to excel. That's just a good statement. I think it's really true. And when you talk to people, and I do all the time, and you do, whether it's in my work or walking the road of life, and you just hear people are just dissatisfied. There are all these rules. You do this, you do that. It has to be done in a certain way.
But you do need, and I think there's because you do have, it's a balance, I suppose. You do need a framework. Yes. You do need the rules of how things are done uniformly. But this is, Doc, tell me what you think. This is, I think, one reason I think AI and robots and stuff can't take over completely jobs, because ultimately work is a relationship between you and your place of business where you put your time in, a relationship between you and your family and that place. It's all of that. And robots don't have relationships. And a good manager understands those relationships and can pick out someone's talents and foster those, I think.
I think that's really true. I mean, I think that's one of the problems with COVID too. People weren't together. People lost the ability to communicate. They didn't even want to communicate. So in person. So you do want environments where people interact, where they can have some freedom. Now, granted, you do need structure. Your point is right. You do need rules. You need structure how things are done. But there are a lot of rules and a lot of things that don't make sense. You just have to have more of a reasonable environment, and really, depending on the job, of course, but as a whole, so many jobs do require that, it's my estimation, for people to be effective and to be able to excel, that they feel free, that they don't always have someone looking over their shoulder, that they can do the job, get it done. They have a role. They're given a certain expectation. This is what you need to get done. But then they're allowed to also be coming up with new ideas, new strategies. They're interacting with management. They're interacting with coworkers. This is what's called really a good environment, a good working environment where everybody is seen as important. Everyone has a role, and it's just critical that people just interact. They feel that what they do is important, regardless of what it is. They have ideas. They interact. You don't have cliques there. You don't have negativity. You don't have this micromanaging, the idea that somebody is always looking over your shoulder. And there are a lot of jobs like that where people really feel they're always being looked at. Okay, and now mind you, it is important that if you're doing something that you are productive. I still think if you manage events, you're going to manage people. If the person knows this is what we need done in this period of time, and go to it. If you run into a problem doing it, let me know. Or if you run into a situation where you think there's a better way to do it, let me know. And where there's a lot of teamwork and working as a team. You don't really have a good football or a good work team or any type of team unless people are working together. They have the same goals, the same desires they're trying to accomplish. And there's nothing worse than a negative manager.
There is that, though. In getting back to the balance thing, you touched on it there. do you think that it's a good manager will understand the bigger picture and the goal of the company and be able to impart that onto the people under him or her and create that sort of environment of not, I guess you'd say ownership, but the sense that, hey, listen, we're all here to create this bigger thing, this widget, this idea, this every company has a mission statement, right? And be able to foster that environment, I think, is the key.
Well, you're right. That is what's called a good manager. I mean, a good manager can take the goal, the mission of the company, or even in government, wherever it is, and they're able to instill that in the workers and the people that work with them, with the goal of accomplishing what has to be done. But it's done in a way that people feel that they can excel. They can really do a good job. They can come up with ideas. They can feel free. It's an environment. People really want to, when they go into work, they go into an environment, they want to really feel that they have something, that they're part of the team, that what they're doing is important, and that they're listened to. And too many people don't feel that way. So you do want to have managers see that, and that people can get the whole aspect of what a goal in the company and in government is, and that everybody is inspired and wants to work to that end. It's not an easy thing to do, but there are a lot of systems that fail because they just have poor leadership and the micromanager looking, what are you doing? Why did you do that? How come you're not doing it this way? Those are things we hear it every day, don't we? About people that deal with intolerable people. Everybody's one bad person away from a bad job.
Doc, not that you need a project or anything, but I say you and I, we form a company and we just go around to companies and teach them how to do this. What do you think?
I think that makes a lot of sense, Mike. I think.
Well, there you go.
It's such common sense in many ways, but people just often miss it. So, again, we want happy people. We want systems where people can excel. And when everybody's working in the same page, in the same direction, boy, there can be great achievement. That's how you get a person to the moon. If you don't work together, you're not even going to get up a ladder, So, falling.
And to that end, I'm just going to say on a bigger picture as we wrap up here, but, we put a guy on the moon. We've, think of all the accomplishments that we as America have done. I'm getting all patriotic on you, but
sure. Hey,
it is due to that collective end, going back to on a smaller scale, the bigger picture, the mission statement. We used to say this is what it means to be an American. I need Lee Greenwood to sing right now. But what I'm saying is we were all sort of part of that, make cars for everybody or whatever. And there's still that out there. We tap into it and we can make it work. Doc, we're up on time. I love this topic. Dr. John Braccio, I'm kind of serious about starting a company. What you and I, we go around, all we got to do is get a workbook. You call somebody today and see if we can get some business cards made. What do you think, huh? Come on.
Hallelujah, Mike. You're a champion by any standard. How does that sound?
I love it. Champions, Inc. There's our company. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services. He's been doing this a long time, and he's seen a lot of situations. Doctor, I appreciate your time. We'll do this again next week, huh?
Well, for sure. Talk to you later, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya. 1320 WILS.